Hey there, Paradigm Bikes was founded in 2022 by Paul Brinkat and I. We set out on a bit of a mission to build locally made chromoly race machines. Paradigm's built out of passion for the sport of BMX, and we really want to try and introduce awesome ideas to bridge the gap between a lot of other cycling disciplines and BMX, but also really expand on more contemporary ideas that we can start putting into our own handcrafted race frames. Where our belief on how BMX should be, we shouldn't have to settle for a bike that we have to fit to. We much prefer to make a bike that fits the rider. We use tried and true 4130 seamless drawn chromoly. All our frames are a 0.9 thickness inner wall diameter, and they just look awesome. Come back to 2022, here's our first race frame that we ever made. This is called the Alley Cat. This was debuted at the Handmade Bike Show in 2022. It was pretty cool. We were very excited to show this off. Had a lot of contemporary ideas in what we put into this bike. We'll start off with the head tube. We had a standard Campy 45/45 head tube, 23-inch top tubes. This one was made for me. A standard Euro bottom bracket shell, which is kind of industry standard. 26.8mm seat tube. Then coming down to kind of what we're known for at the moment, which is our fixed dropout setup. So what we did, we ran a 10mm axle, fixed dropout, and a chain tensioning device to hold it all together. This bike rode awesome when we were doing testing, held up really well to the abuse that we were throwing at it. But we wanted to do better for this year, and now we introduce the toe cutter. So for the toe cutter, we've actually changed the bike almost completely. Although it looks very similar, there's a lot of additional changes we've made to the bike. We have retained the same dropout setup, which is our milled 10mm fixed dropout. That comes into a slightly different chainstay section where we've actually added some bends rather than notching. That allows greater clearance for bigger chain rings and a better Q factor, so the cranks and the chain ring can sit in closer to the seat tube.
What's the biggest chain ring that'll fit?
That'll fit a 51. Come up to the seat tube, so instead of the 26.8, we're able to go with the industry standard 27.2. The top tube on Paul's bike here is a 22-inch top tube. The outer diameter of this tubing is a little bit bigger, so it actually looks a lot meaner, a little bit more aggressive, but the inner diameter is still 0.9 thick. We come up to the tapered head tube. Again, a lot of chromoly bikes these days have a 45/45 Campy head tube, but with the introduction of a lot of carbon forks that are going to tapered steer tube, we decided to go for a tapered steer tube on this one, and paired with the Mac carbon fork, I think it just looks absolutely phenomenal. Coming back to the back of the bike, we'll check out the chain setup, the chain tensioner, and we've also debuting this weekend the new Dane design chain ring.
Oh, let's have a look at that.
So if we come and have a look, we've got a sprung loaded chain tensioner that hangs off the back of the bottom bracket. We've got a guide that's similar to what they use in moto to try and keep the chain aligned. So it's actually, if we need to change the chain, we can just pop that down, flip the chain off. Then we come up to the chain ring itself. So what I wanted to do when designing a chain ring was to have something that looks a lot different than anything else that's on the market, but also wanted to introduce the narrow wide setup from mountain bikes. So if you look at the tooth profile, we actually, so although that we don't have huge amount of chain alignment issues in BMX, sometimes you might buy a hub that you can't space in or out enough. So therefore the narrow wide setup, and make sure that your chain is not going to fall off. And it's one of those things, I'm terrified of chains falling off. It's happened to me too many times. So this is just something cool to add a little bit of difference into chain rings.
Actually, Dane, do you have an estimate on the weight of this frame?
So when we're ready to go out and start taking pre-orders for these, they will be approximately 4 to 6 weeks build time from deposit being taken to completed build.
And they're made here in Melbourne?
They are made in Campbellfield in Melbourne. Yeah.
All right. What's the next frame?
Wow, this one's a bit exciting. So this is the first ever dirt jumper we've ever made. I like dirt jumpers. They're kind of like the fun machine of BMX. Like I think Bill from Supercross calls them big wheel BMXs. I love these things. They're so much fun. Often quite the bikes that I do a lot of dumb stuff on because you feel so confident when you're riding and you've got suspension. Anyway, so this is the debut show for the Thundercat. The Thundercat is, again, the same sort of material as we use for the toe cutter. It's seamless drawn, 4130 chromo. This one is made for me, so we've actually extended the top tube on this by quite a lot. So most of the time, you have either a small or a large in dirt jump mountain bikes. This one's like an extra large. So it's got a 23.6 inch top tube, lots of room to maneuver, and I won't look quite so ridiculous riding one. Because I look ridiculous riding a normal dirt jumper. So essentially our tube set's the same as what the toe cutter is. We have gone at a slightly larger diameter just due to the size of the bike. We've retained a tapered head tube. Again, all mountain bike forks these days are tapered. We've paired that to a Manitou Circus Expert fork. Probably one of the better forks that are on the market for dirt jumping. And the geometry of this, we've sort of developed it to be more of a do-all bike. So we wanted to be able to do 4-cross, dirt jumps, pump tracks, skate park, pretty much anything we want to throw at it. So we tried to make it as progressive as possible, but also super responsive in any situation that we're putting it in. Which comes down to the reason why we went with street gearing. So we're running the profile race cranks with a spline drive street sprocket. We're running a 2511 on this one. And then the awesome colour, which was done by Hayden at PPC Coatings. Just absolutely dynamite. Everybody at the show is loving this. It really pops under different light. We're stoked with how this has come out.
So the colours will be as custom as the frames themselves?
Yeah, so basically we'll offer standardised colours, but things like this, which there's a lot more in the process of actually applying these colours, they'll be a little bit more expensive.
What about the dropouts? How come you went for a horizontal dropout over a fixed one?
So this is basically just the need for a chain tensioner. If you went for a vertical dropout like what a normal mountain bike would be, or a 12 mil through axle, you're going to need something to take the tension of the chain. I wanted to go for something that was just a little bit more BMXy, but you didn't have to worry about any additional add-ons, to complicate what's going on. Essentially what these are to do, you want to jump on these and you want to thrash living daylights out of it. So it's basically, let's make the drivetrain as simple as possible that's going to work without overcomplicating it.
Do you have an approximate price on something like this, frame-wise?
We haven't actually worked out the price of the dirt jumper. And to be honest, when we bought this to the show, I just wanted to bring a dirt jumper. And I said to Paul, let's do a dirt jumper. He was keen for it. We really didn't expect the type of reaction that it actually got at this show. I mean, it's been ridiculous. It's been great to sort of bring attention to our brand, but the response for the dirt jumper has been unbelievable. We're quite humbled by it, actually. It's so it might be something that we actually take seriously and step into.
So Thundercat, does that reflect your childhood somehow?
No. I think the Thundercat is basically the cat theme. Like we had the Alley Cat, which was a reference to Paul's workshop, and the Thundercat. I sort of see big wheels, big thunder rolling down the road. That's kind of how it came about, and it's a bit of a cat theme with some of the bikes that we're doing at the moment. So, and it sounds cool.
Just want to show us your third one?
So this one is one that we've made for me, basically. What we've tried to do with this one is to be more traditional BMX. So instead of having a lot of our more contemporary ideas, we've tried to keep it a little more traditional. So Yes, we still have a tapered head tube paired up with a set of Mac forks, but we haven't gone for the fixed dropout. We've gone for a horizontal dropout. We still got a disc brake, but it looks very much like a traditional BMX bike. So we're running the Dane Design tensioners at the rear, another prototype Dane Design sprocket, paired to some elite cranks. And this just to me is pretty much a fairly traditional BMX race bike for today's market.
So if people wanted to make any sort of customization, like a built-in seat clamp or anything like that, is that something that you would entertain?
So things that we're able to do is, it's pretty much endless what we can do. It's just what the customer wants to do, and obviously there's going to be prices attached to it. Yeah. But things like your top tube length, which is a big one for riders. I mean, trying to find the bike that's going to fit you can sometimes be a challenge. I mean, me being 6'4", heck, when I rode chromoly supercrosses, the longer I could get was, I think it was at 21.75. You know, so this is a breath of fresh air to be riding something at a 23-inch top tube is amazing. Dropouts are definitely an option. Chainstay length is definitely an option. Head tube, if you wanted to change head tubes, you wanted to do like a Campy or heck, even if you wanted to do a 44 mil, so you could run internal headset, or you could, mountain bikers do like internal headset, then external 1.5 cup at the bottom, so they can run tapered that way as well. So there's different options on that. But yeah, that's essentially customization wise, that's where we're at.
What's the future for you guys? Do you think you'll branch out into other materials, or do you think you'll just stay a chromo shop? I
think for the next probably 12 to 24 months, we'll stay playing with chromoly. Chromo is just such a nice feeling bike. You know, the sport's saturated with carbon fiber, with aluminium, which is awesome because that's basically the standard for what BMX racing is. But for everyone that's ridden chromo and race chromo, it's got its own feel. It's a beautiful material to ride on. It's quite compliant, and it's for someone, I'm getting old now, like I've got grey hair. My body doesn't really take super stiff bikes as well as it used to. So having that compliance and just that nicer ride is very appealing to me. And heck, chromoly's been around for generations, and I think it'll still be around for generations to come. And if we keep going the way we're going, and the industry keeps going the way it's going, with new developments and, you know, making bikes lighter, you know, new manufacturing ways of trying to keep them a little more rigid, you know, so they're competitive with aluminium and carbon fiber, I don't think it's going to go anywhere.
Who would you say your target market was?
For BMX, I think the target market is for people that can't seem to find the right bike that they want to fit them. Those who want something customized that nobody else has. That's actually a big thing. I mean, everybody would want to ride, you know, a Chase or, you know, something like that. They're everywhere, which is great. But if you want something that's truly unique and truly special that you've got as a customer input into building, I think that's something that's really special.
Do you see yourself doing handlebars and forks in the future?
Well, handlebars, no. So our friend Trevor from 50 BMX, or BMX 50, can't remember which one it is. It's one or the other. He is pretty much the guru of handlebar making, so we'll leave that stuff up to him. Like he does some awesome work with handlebars. He's here this weekend as well at the Handmade Bike Show 2023 with his selection of frames that he's made as well. So if you're on the socials, jump over and check out Trevor's stuff as well.
All right, Dane, thanks for taking the time.
Cool, thanks for having me.